from a presidential perspective, is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
Well,
I just said no.
And that was President Biden ignoring questions about Hunter Biden's second indictment happening on Friday. The White House still claiming that there are no plans to pardon the first son if he is convicted on those felonies of tax evasion, as the House prepares to vote to formalize the Biden impeachment inquiry this week. Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson now says that banks filed at least 6 suspicious activity reports flagging Joe Biden's home address. Newly released IRS whistleblower testimony also reveals Special Agent Gary Shapley wanted to investigate President Biden for benefiting from Hunter's crimes, telling lawmakers that his request for Joe Biden's location data was denied and that he was not allowed to investigate Joe Biden. Joining me right now is California Congressman Darrel Issa, a member of the House Judiciary Committee. Congressman, thanks very much for joining me this morning. Your reaction?
Well, it's time for us to get to the entire truth. As you can tell, we found enough to know that that obviously Hunter Biden and James Biden were involved in a deceptive practice, claiming that they could get things done using the then vice president. The only question is, with all of these things leading toward the president, will we continue to be obstructed in our need to get the additional information? That's why we're voting this week. That's why it's important to formalize this as a impeachment investigation, is so that we can move quickly through the courts to get the kind of compliance, quite frankly, that the January 6th Commission and others had no trouble at all getting from the courts.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the January 6th situation, because you've got people there who are in jail right now, and their lives have been forever changed, even if they weren't part of that. And it's a completely different story when it comes to the Biden family.
Well, exactly. You know, when they say no one is above the law, that's hogwash. The reality is, for a long time, the Bidens have clearly been above what you or I or anyone else would experience if you had hundreds of suspicious reports coming from banks, countless companies that ended up being shell companies, and millions of dollars coming in without an explanation of how it was earned. All of that would get you investigated thoroughly without any ability to push back the way the White House has been doing.
So, Congressman, can I assume then that you are voting yes to move this impeachment inquiry forward?
Absolutely. I've never called for impeachment. I have called for the investigation. And you follow the facts, and if the facts lead to an action, you take it. And the facts are leading us toward an action. We need to investigate and either finalize this and let Hunter Biden be punished by the courts, or go forward with the other actions that we're required by the Constitution to consider.
Yep. Congressman, the last time we spoke, we were talking about you voting no to go forward for the impeachment of Alejandro Mayorkas. Are you expecting to vote to impeach Alejandro Mayorkas, given the dereliction of duty at the border?
We're expecting to have a report come back from the committee where Marjorie Taylor Greene sits on that committee, and we hope that it will come in a format where we can all vote up or down on it. One of the requirements, and the reason I voted that way, is I wanted to make sure that the committee and the lawyers involved put it in a format with impeachable offenses. Look, there's no question at all. This president and his henchmen have ordered the opening of the borders in a way that makes America less safe. There's no question at all we have to stop it using every tool we can find. Impeachment may or may not be a tool, but right now we're looking at funding, obviously Israel and Ukraine, but we're also looking at all of the funding, and it's got to include changes in how we treat the border, or this country is lost as a separate nation.
Well, I mean, it's debatable whether it's 7, 8, or 10 million people who've come into this country on Joe Biden's watch in a 2.5-year period. So thank you for explaining yourself again in terms of that vote, because people are wondering how you can allow all these people to come in on a technicality.
Well, it's not even a technicality. It's a deliberate misinterpretation of the law. You know, President Trump got it right that these people are coming from
the technicality of the bill, that it wasn't put forth by the right person out of Marjorie Taylor Greene's committee.
You know, Marjorie's intentions were good, and she got the attention of the Congress, attention of Mark Green, the chairman, And that's important. And Mark worked with Marjorie on a promise that he would move this thing. I expect it to be moved in very, very quickly. Look, the process of doing it right is more important than doing it fast. But I want to get it done. And there's no question at all that the Secretary and his president have ordered things which are simply deliberate misinterpretations of the law designed to bring those, 7 million or more into the country. And look, I'm all for legal immigration, but we know this is out of control. We know that there are people that have gotten into this country that never should have gotten in. And it's not a few, it's thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands.